Gather round, my dear ones. Today I bring you the tale of a knight, not one who fought dragons, but one who battled his own pride. This is the story of the rusted armor and the wisdom hidden within.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a knight who believed he was good, generous, and loving. He fought evil enemies, slayed dragons, and rescued damsels in distress. His armor was so radiant that the villagers swore they saw the sun rise in its metal each morning. But over time, the knight fell so in love with his armor that he began wearing it for everything. For dinner, for sleep, slowly forgetting how a hug felt or the breeze on his face. His wife Juliet, a woman of great patience and wisdom, told him one day, "I think you love your armor more than you love me." And his son Christopher, a young boy with sad eyes, no longer remembered what his father's face looked like. One morning, the knight tried to remove his helmet to please his wife, and he couldn't. It was stuck. With frustration, he pulled and struggled with all his strength, but the armor wouldn't budge. For the first time in his life, the brave knight felt fear. He traveled the kingdom seeking help, but not even the strongest blacksmith could loosen a single piece. Desperate and alone, unable to return home, he heard whispers of a great wizard who lived deep in the forest, a wizard named Merlin. After months of searching, exhausted and with his armor completely rusted, he found Merlin sitting beneath a great oak tree, surrounded by forest animals. "Welcome, knight. You are lost on the outside because you were lost on the inside first." The knight, indignant, demanded to be freed, but Merlin only smiled. "I cannot help you. You put that armor on yourself, and only you can remove it. But to do so, you must walk the path of truth. It's a hard road, and many turn back, but it's the only way home, your true home." The path of truth was harder than the knight had imagined. "Wow, that's some armor. Aren't you roasting in there?" The knight jumped. "An animal that could talk? You can talk? Of course, you humans just never stop to listen." Beside the squirrel perched a wise-looking dove. It was Rebecca. "Merlin sent us. We'll walk with you. We can't take the steps for you, but we can offer support." For the first time in a long while, the knight didn't feel completely alone. As he walked, he remembered the sadness in his son Christopher's eyes. A tear rolled down his cheek and hit the metal of his helmet. A small hole opened in the visor. For the first time in years, he felt a breath of fresh air. Through the thick forest, he saw the silhouette of an imposing castle. Rebecca said to him, "You've arrived. That is the Castle of Silence. You must enter alone." The castle was overwhelming, and as its name promised, it was utterly silent. The knight was used to noise, the clashing of battles, crowds cheering, and the constant creaking of his own armor. He entered, and the silence wrapped around him like a heavy blanket. "Hello? Is anyone here?" But the silence swallowed his words. No echo. Nothing. Desperate to fill the void, he tried singing one of his old war songs, but his voice sounded hollow and strange. He realized he had used noise all his life to avoid feeling alone. Tired of fighting, he collapsed to the ground, and in the stillness, for the first time, he listened. He heard his own heartbeat. He heard the soft whisper of his breath, and then he heard the sound of a door creaking open in the distance. He rose and walked toward the sound. There was a small door in a wall he hadn't noticed before. He opened it and warm light poured in. He felt peace. He had passed the first test not by fighting, but by surrendering. After leaving the Castle of Silence, the knight felt lighter. The world seemed new, as if he was seeing it for the first time. Now he didn't just hear Squirrel and Rebecca, he could feel their loyalty, their care. The squirrel said, "Your armor shines a little less, and you don't smell like rust anymore." The knight smiled, a gesture he hadn't made in years. The path continued, but it no longer felt like a burden. In the distance, he saw another castle, very different from the first. Is the Castle of Knowledge.
silence taught you to listen. Now, knowledge will teach you to see. The castle of knowledge was strangely beautiful. No books, no scrolls, just silence, a central flame, and mirrors. The knight stepped toward one, expecting to see his armored reflection. But he didn't. The mirror reflected a young man with bright eyes and an open heart, the person he had been before putting on the armor. He saw his potential, his kindness, his capacity to love without barriers. In another mirror, he saw Juliet, not through his eyes, but hers. He felt her loneliness, her yearning for a partner who shared his heart. He realized she didn't need a hero who fought dragons. She needed a companion who shared life. He listened and echo or Merlin voice that said to him, "The knowledge you seek is the knowledge of yourself. You cannot love others if you do not love yourself. You cannot see their needs if you deny your own." The knight approached the central flame. It represented self-love, truth, inner light. As he accepted these truths, that he was worthy of love not for his deeds, but for simply being, his breastplate cracked and fell with a thud. For the first time, he placed his hand on his own chest and felt his heart beating. A new door, once invisible, lit up across the room. He had passed the second test. The knight, now bare-chested and without arm guards, walks toward an open iron gate with purpose. The third castle had no walls, no towers, no moat. But before its open gate stood a guardian, a giant green dragon with emerald scales and eyes of fire. This was no flesh and blood beast. It was the dragon of fear and doubt.
"Go away. You are not welcome here. You will fail as you always have."
The old knight would have drawn his sword. But this new man, armed with self-knowledge, knew fighting fear only made it stronger. Rebecca told him, "It's your own fear, your own doubt. Only truth can disarm it." The knight stepped forward. The dragon breathed fire, but the flames didn't burn. They were the flames of panic and insecurity.
"Enter, and your family will forget you forever. You will die alone."
The knight said, "It's true, I fear being alone, but living inside this armor is the worst kind of loneliness." With each truth the knight accepted, the dragon shrank. The monster that once blocked out the sun was now the size of a dog. He said, "I doubted myself all my life. That's why I needed this armor, to keep others from doubting me. But I no longer need it." The dragon, now no bigger than a lizard, puffed a final curl of smoke and slithered away. The knight had passed the final test. The path of truth had led him to the summit of truth. As he neared the top, he saw an inscription carved in a snow-dusted stone. "Though I possess this universe, I possess nothing, for I cannot know the unknown if I cling to the known." He understood. He had to let go of the past, his memories, his fears, his hopes, his very identity. He reached the peak, below a sea of clouds. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let himself fall backward, an act of absolute faith. As he fell, a stunning feeling overtook him. It was not a fall toward death. He felt everything. He thought he was beginning to dissolve. The final piece, his helmet, turned to light. And then he stopped falling. He stood once again at the summit, transformed. The sun bathed his face, and for the first time, he shone from within. Tears of pure joy rolled down his cheeks. He could feel everything, the wind, the sun, the heartbeat of the universe, and his own grateful heart. He was no longer a knight. He was a stream flowing freely. He was simply himself. The road home was not a burden, but a joyful walk. He could feel the moss underfoot, smell the wildflowers. Life surged through his veins. As he reached his castle, it no longer looked like a fortress, but a warm and welcoming home. Juliet and Christopher saw a stranger in the garden with a radiant smile and eyes full of joyful tears. His clothes were simple, but he glowed from within.
Dad!
Christopher ran to him, and for the first time, the father could feel his son's little body in an embrace return it fully, with no barrier between them. Juliet approached, and her eyes no longer held sadness, but deep recognition. No words were needed. They had found each other again. "And you? What armor are you wearing?" The story of the knight in rusty armor is a journey we all carry inside. If his path has inspired you, we invite you to explore the wisdom in every page of this timeless book. It is a gift that may forever change the way you see yourself. Thank you so much for listening to the end. With all the love, your favorite grandpa.